Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we got Nikki Snacks with us. These two are live from Foxborough, so we're going to talk a little about training camp updates. We did a lot of that in the live stream, and we got some relevant news to talk about. We got Zack Rosenblatt coming on the show a little later, which is like just kind of puts us back into like, oh yeah, we did have the 31st offense last year mood. And then we're going to do our players to watch for in the final preseason game. Justin, Snacks, how are you guys?
Snacks, how are you?
Really great, honestly. You know, this has been a very nice trip. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Manscaped, for doing it. Just an overall great experience. A lot of nice people up here in Massachusetts, which I'm very surprised about. Guess maybe I didn't wear my Yankee shirt.
They were too nice. It was people in Massachusetts are suspiciously nice.
Way too nice.
And also, like, it's one of those things where if you start to have a conversation with somebody,
they don't stop.
And you can't get out.
We were trying to leave today, and this guy was telling me stories from like 1960, and it went on for like 30 minutes. It was unbelievable. But I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And like I said, we got a lot of the news to get to, and we'll talk a little bit about your guys' time there. Before that, this episode was brought to you by John Gravini. That's like Gravina is more like it. Brad Van Pelt, who is he the brother and son of Alex Van Pelt?
No, this is Brad Van Pelt is a former Giant.
Yeah.
But is he dead?
I don't know if he's dead or
I think
not.
Brad Van Pelt died.
He may have died the same day Ernie Palladino did.
I always remember Brad Van Pelt as the linebacker. Didn't he wear number 10
Yeah,
as a
he was
linebacker?
a linebacker. I think he is unfortunately deceased. But is there any...
Yeah, he died in 2009.
Okay, so
rest in peace to our newest Patreon.
Brian Van Pelt.
And Joey Mooney. Justin, who are all these people who have been dead for over 10 years now?
Yeah, they went to patreon.com//Talking Giants. And for $2 a month, and some also other tiers if you want to help and support us too. But $2 a month, you get access to watch the live shows. I mean, for example, Snacks and I, we talked with the Patreon for a couple minutes before the show. Talk maybe a couple minutes after the show too. Regular season football, the next time that we will be kind of reacting to a game, not counting the Sunday, we will be live streaming after the Giants-Pats preseason game. But then the next time after that, it's regular season football. So you want to be in those chats and not have to wait until the next morning or the next day to hear us react and talk about the Giants. And you can talk with us in the Patreon chat on YouTube. So patreon.com/Talking Giants. Thank you to our patrons for all their support.
And I'm picking a T-shirt winner right after we finish this podcast.
Boom.
All right, let's talk about it. We got some relevant news to get to, and I know I want to talk about your guys' time at camp as well a little bit too. Even like I would rather talk about that than our preseason guys to watch if we need to. So we will talk about that. The Giants pulled off a trade. Ryan Santoso to the Carolina Panthers for a conditional 7th round pick, and the condition is that he's active for 2 games. So we can assume that he will. Like they brought him in to be their starting kicker. So as long as he doesn't get injured in week 1 or show up to camp and totally choke, I think we'll get a 7th round pick. Think about this path for the Giants for this. So the Panthers on July 30th, 2020, cut Graham Gano. He had injuries before that. Giants signed him 20 days later. Has an amazing year, balls out. But the Giants have Ryan Santoso on their practice squad all year because of the COVID rules last year, where you needed like 3 days to go through the screening process to get through COVID and get on the roster. So if a Giants kicker were to get COVID on a Friday, they wouldn't be able to sign a kicker in time for the game. They'd be kickerless. So Ryan Santoso stays on the whole year. Balls out in camp. Like, he's been having a great camp. And now the team that cut Graham Gano is now, again, suffering because of Graham Gano. They're trading a 7th round pick for him. And now we have 11 draft picks next year. I am pumped at this trade. I know it's just a 7th rounder, but it's just to your backup kicker, your camp body kicker, to get a draft pick makes me feel really happy.
Everything comes full circle. That's what they do say, Snacks. I do think it's a conditional pick, so Santoso does need to play 2 games. I don't exactly know the Panthers' depth chart situation at kicker. But hopefully he goes out there, he plays 2 games, and then boom, the Giants get that 11th pick and another 7th rounder. And yeah, the main difference between the 2020 draft and the 2021 draft and the 2020 draft was that 2020 had 10 picks, and even though you had a couple misses in there with Chris Williamson and TJ Brunson as of right now, you had hits in the 7th round with Carter Coughlin. You had hits in there with Tay Crowder. You had a special teams player in the 6th round that you took in Cam Brown, but it wasn't that big of a deal because you had guys in the latter end of the draft like Shane Lemieux, 5th round. We don't want to call him a hit, but guys that are kind of contributing and they're here. Versus this past year, You only had 6 picks. You had 1 pick in the 6th round. And Gary Brightwell, you had to spend it on special teams. So I like that they have all these lottery tickets, and the more lottery tickets you kind of build up, the more likely you are to hit on them. And the fact that they were able to tear in their camp body in Ryan Santoso into a possible 7th-round pick. Hopefully he plays 2 games.
Sorry, but real quick, you guys took exactly what I was going to say. There's the fact that he was probably going to get cut. To get an actual pick for it is a steal in and in itself. And Justin, like you're saying, the more lottery tickets you have, the more darts you could throw, you got a better chance of hitting. So, all in all, a win-win-win.
Yeah, I mean, just every team not every team, but a lot of teams just bring in a backup kicker and long snapper into practice. So, so you don't wear out your special teams guys, but you also don't want to have you don't want to not have a long snapper and kicker working during the day, and someone gets hurt, you have someone there that's already with your team, and you kind of got a good feel for it. And again, turning that into a draft pick is beautiful. And for all the points Justin made, it was like, hey, I'll do 7th-round picks. Usually end up turning into anything? No, but we had 4 in 2020, and 2 of them did, and one was the first 7th-rounder in Carter Coughlin. So okay, that's the guy they thought the best was. But there was 2 guys who they thought were better than Tay Crowder, and Chris Williamson and TJ Brunson. I didn't, but they did. And Tay Crowder, but Tay Crowder ends up being the guy. So the draft, especially in the 7th round, is a little more random. So it's just good to get that. Now, I mean, think about, here's the draft picks they have. 2 firsts, 1 from the Bears, a 2nd, 2 thirds, 1 from the Dolphins, and the Azeez Ojulari pick. That's 5 draft picks on the first 2 days of the draft. So it's not like they had 10 picks in 2020, but 4 of those were in the 7th round. 2 4th-rounders, so now you have 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. Another one from the Bears, a 5th, a 6th, and now the 2 7ths. And I know the talking point has been trading up and stuff. That's not why they traded up. That's not why they made these picks, because if they're trading up for a quarterback, Dave Gettleman is not making the pick. And I'm a big believer of Dave Gettleman gets the credit for the good moves and the bad moves. Like, I'm not playing did Judge do this move, or did John Mara tell him to do this move? Dave Gettleman, I give him the credit for this. Obviously, he works with Joe Judge, but Gettleman does get the credit for this. Now, this pick doesn't have any effect on that, though. Like, I've seen some people say that. 7th-rounders are not used in trade-ups, really. Like, you can trade up into the 6th-rounder with a 7th-round pick, but, like, a 7th-rounder's not making the difference of you going up. Like, if you're trying to trade up in the 1st or 2nd round, a 7th-rounder doesn't make any type of difference.
No, and the only reason why we're really talking about this, really, I think, we're acting like 7th-round picks or, but really the only reason why we're talking about this is because we traded a kicker that we were going to cut, and now we got an extra draft pick. That's really the only reason why we're talking about it. Not to diminish it, it's a good move, but that's really the only reason why I guess we're.
It's
really
the position, right? It's a kicker. He's gonna be cut, and to get literally anything, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for him would be fine.
Yeah.
The fact that they got a pick back for him is even better.
Yeah.
So brilliant move.
Yeah, it's a guy that was going to get cut that you get a draft pick for. It's like the easiest. It's the easiest move to make. Like, you don't need to be a genius. The fact that they pulled it off with this guy in Ryan Santoso, good for him. And I will be rooting for him, except for when he plays the Giants. Other news: Adoree Jackson ankle injury. Now they say it's minor. What did you guys see? Like walk me through the Adoree Jackson injury.
All right, I'll walk through. So Adoree Jackson and Darnay Holmes kind of get tied up with who was the Patriots wide receiver? Jacoby Myers. They got tied up on a play. Jacoby Myers made a nice catch. And Myers and Adoree Jackson kind of both come up limping a little bit. But Jackson initially looks like he grabs his shin.
That's what we thought. We said immediately his shin.
His shin. He
Something
grabbed his
went wrong
shin.
with his shin. Yeah.
But
maybe like shin to shin or something like that. But
then eventually it comes out, that it was an ankle. And eventually he takes off his shoe. He kind of makes his way to the back of the end zone. He tries to get up, goes down, tries to get up, then he goes back down. Trainers come over. Eventually Dave Gettleman was even on top of him for a couple minutes, which got me like, oh boy. When the GM's just coming over to see if a player's all right, that didn't make me feel good. But he got up, and eventually he walked from literally the back of the end zone, where there's a decent amount of space in between the back of the end zone from where the kind of the practice field ends, and then he walked all the way back to the Giants sideline and the Giants bench, and he walked gingerly. He was limping a little bit. He wasn't limping heavily, didn't need to be carried off the field or carted off the field. So the fact that we saw him walking somewhat well with a little bit of a limp with the shoe off, that made us feel pretty good. So I guess we weren't that shocked to hear that, hey, this injury may not be that bad.
Right. And I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday. So the fact that he was just walking gingerly and not like an aggressive limp or something, a high ankle sprain, there's a chance you may not be able to walk 70 yards around
right
the
away.
field right away. And he did that. So it was very encouraging to see. And then obviously, the reports come out, the cart's coming out. That was 35 minutes after. And Bobby, you said it perfectly yesterday. Swelling starts then. You don't want to walk on a swollen up ankle like that. So I think it was more precautionary, things like that. So I guess the fear originally, I was more feared about the shin, to be honest, because I've seen people crack their shin bone and you're done. So the fact that it's a mild ankle sprain, I think we got lucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and even look, like when we talked yesterday, I was like, I didn't really panic at Adoree Jackson. I thought with the Isaac Yiadom trade, they were bit with this. Now I'm not going to go into this. I have a lot of talking points as far as cornerback depth because it became a talking point because the Adoree Jackson issue happened. But I will say I feel a lot worse about it than I did before the injury because, I mean, the Giants, in my opinion, traded their best outside cornerback backup in Isaac Yiadom for Josh Jackson. Is Josh Jackson practicing? I know you guys took a picture of him, but like if he's not on the roster, like that looks like a really bad trade because, I mean, the guys that are on the outside, Keon Crossen is a bad cornerback. He's a special teams player. People mentioned Julian Love. Julian Love played 2 games at outside corner. He wasn't good in either one of them. And they don't even have him practicing at outside corner at all. And Rodarius Williams is a 6th-round rookie. I think he's had a pretty decent camp from what we've heard. But you just look at him compared to Isaac Yiadom in that Jets preseason game. Yiadom was clearly better, and they picked on Rodarius. So, if like Josh Jackson, basically what I'm saying is some people are saying they'll be shocked if he makes the team. I'll be shocked if he doesn't make the team because it was a trade. It was a player for player, same age, same position.
And basically, so here's what that may come down to. And, Dan Duggan, who we really appreciate his input, he did put out into the Twitterverse, he said that he's expecting Jackson to get cut. It wasn't one of those things where he thinks it may happen. He said, I'm expecting it. So hopefully I'm really rooting for that not to happen. So I'm in the same boat as you, Bobby, because especially let's look at, who was on the field the last 2 days in Patriots camp. That's why we're here to talk about
why we're here.
What we saw in Patriots camp. Rodarius Williams is the clear cut, like number 3 outside cornerback. The clear cut right now, number 3 outside cornerback behind Bradbury and Adoree Jackson. Now, who's to say that if somebody goes down week 1, God forbid, who's to say that they don't bring in Mondre Harper? I don't know. But Rodarius,
that's not a good thing to say.
No, it's no, it's not because. But ultimately, they may feel hesitant to put out a 6th-round rookie, which I would not blame them if they were hesitant to. They should be hesitant. But the guy that has been getting those reps over and over and over again, who has seen the field the most in the preseason, we see that with our own eyes, and then even in Patriots camp, it has been Rodarius Williams, and then even Sam Beal. It was Sam Beal who actually had somewhat of a decent day for Thursday's practice. So I don't exactly know how this depth chart's going to shake out. Josh Jackson was not on the field Wednesday. He was on the field Thursday, number 27. So another guy that can be CB2, CB3, who wears number 27 for us. How do you like that? And
hate
it because they should retire.
It should have been retired for Brandon Jacobs years ago.
There you go.
Anyway.
He was out on the field to start some individual drills and team drills on Thursday, but then he just mysteriously disappeared, and we did not see him for 85% of the rest of the practices and team drills. So this is a very bizarre situation, and there doesn't seem to be a clear answer why he's not fitting. Because also, Bobby, let's if we are in this bizarre world where Josh Jackson is cut, we turned Isaac Yiadom and a 6th-round draft pick in next year's draft for Keon Crossen. That's brutal. That's what happened. That would be the end.
Yeah, that's a really bad loss. That goes into like top 5 worst trades of Dave Gettleman's
by far,
tenure,
by
really.
far. And you brought his name up, a guy that we've all thought was fait accompli to be cut in Sam Beal, who had a nice day today, and if he has a good game Sunday, listen, he's got a path to being on the team still. Yeah. Which you asked. You asked Bobby, you asked Justin, you asked me a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we just said, no. He's literally he's in practice, sweating his butt off, collecting his paycheck, and that's it. He would never be on the team. Now he kind of has a path. So if he plays well, there's an opportunity. I'm rooting for it because we did use a 3rd-round pick on him. I know compensatory and whatnot, but that we took a 3rd-round pick away from us. That's 3rd-round pick. He had talent coming out. Obviously, he had the injury issues. But if he can kind of step up, then maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's the avenue onto the roster. So
There you go.
I'm very nervous about the cornerback depth. I will say that.
It's still a wait and see, though.
It's still a wait and see.
still a wait and
Absolutely,
see.
absolutely. But we did know that
We
Adoree-
shouldn't be nervous about it. That's what's pissing me off.
Bobby,
It's like,
Bobby, you're talking to the wrong person. I'm nervous about everything.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I'm
that
nervous
is
about
true.
everything. But no,
but that's what's bothering me is now that I am and again, I will save any type of anger for 53-man cutdown day if that were to happen. But also, like, there's been the talking point has come out like, oh, they were going to cut Isaac Yiadom anyways. That is PR. That is the Giants trying to maybe get out ahead of stuff. Like, I don't believe that for 1 second that they planned on cutting Isaac Yiadom. That makes zero sense. They didn't play. They never played Monjay Harper over him. Julian Love, they haven't practiced at outside corner at all. Keon Crossan, I question their judgment if they had Keon Crossan over Isaac Yiadom. Now again, he was the worst starter on a bad defense, but I viewed him as good depth. So I will be bothered by that. It hasn't happened though. So again, it could be people trying to save their own takes. I don't know. So, but I'm not going to overreact until it happens. But if it happens, I will be bothered by
but
that.
they kind of went into the offseason thinking Yiadom was going to be their cornerback too.
Well, I mean,
because
yeah,
Adoree Jackson was a late free agent signing. Like
if they don't sign Adoree, Isaac Yiadom is your starting corner.
That's what I'm saying, right? So they must have had at least a little confidence in him, or the fact that they can make it work. Which he was not. I'm not saying he was good last year. He was not, but he wasn't an abomination. He didn't lose us any games.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Bobby. I mean, you know everything that we saw and every note that we have. So where do you want to go to next?
Actually, no. Hold on. I want to talk about Snacks reading the ad.
There you go. That was coming. You ready?
You can edit this, right? Of course, I'm ready. Intro. Oh.
Don't read intro.
Leave all this in.
Don't you dare.
Julian, leave it in.
The NFL is back.
All right, don't yell.
And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving all new players a can't-miss offer for 1 week. I'm sorry. I'm going to start this over because I already read it wrong. The NFL is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving all new players a can't-miss offer for Week 1. Bet just $1 on any NFL game during the first week of the season and receive $200 in free bets instantly, no matter what. Take advantage of this limited time offer now. You heard that right. DraftKings is giving all new players $200 in free bets instantly when you place a bet of $1 or more on any Week 1 game. Head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now to check out all the great promotions and daily odds boosts. Plus, you can make every game a big game with the same game parlays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code JOHNBOY to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any Week 1 game. That's promo code JOHNBOY to get free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older in NJ, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
I just did that whole last part without having to read that.
All right. The Giants, when they cut down to 80, they waived Cole Hikatini and Montre Hardage on injury waivers. They cut long snapper Carson Tinker, and then they put Rice and John and Quincy Wilson on IR. Technically, their season's over, but also it's not because they can be waived on injury settlements and then come back later in the year. Anyways, I just wanted to put that news out there. All right, so you guys have been at camp. Kyle Rudolph came back. I know you guys have talked about Andrew Thomas going. Like, what has been your biggest takeaways from being there the last 2 days?
So, really, I mean, this is just the first point, maybe just overall. It was really, really cool to see the Giants coaching staff engage with the players. And, The setup at Quest Diagnostics is a little difficult because they have the fence and they have that big awning, which prevents you from the sun, which would have been kind of nice.
It would have been beautiful.
But the fact that we were so close at Foxborough was really, really cool. And the Giants were on our sideline. So I felt bad for the Patriots fans that were there trying to see their favorite team because they're on the opposite sideline. But
they've had it all year.
But it was really cool for the Giants to be right there and have all the players kind of right there in our faces. And really, you heard everything. You heard Joe Judge yelling, and it wasn't really like angry. I didn't really think he eviscerated people. But
just Tom Quinn and
Thomas McGahee
today. That's it.
Tom T-Mac.
T-Mac.
He was not happy with something.
He snapped at his special teams coordinator.
He was not happy with something special teams today. But every single coach on this staff, and Rob Sale was very, very vocal. Jerome Henderson is very, very vocal. All these guys, how they interacted and coached up these players and coached up these guys. Even the assistant offensive line coach, Bobby, what's his name? Ben Wilkerson?
Ben Wilkerson.
Yeah, Ben Wilkerson. He was getting in Matt Parrott's face today because Matt Parrott did not have a very good practice today. Even though it's I look at Matt Parrott in practice and it's dude, you can be good, but you just need to be more aggressive. You need to use your hands more. So Ben Wilkerson was getting in his face, and I think it was merely a pep talk of dude, I think you have it. You just kind of have to show it. So it was just really, really cool to see from top to bottom how this coaching staff is engaging with these players and how Joe Judge is running these practices, because we didn't see it last year. And I think FanFest was a very piss-poor excuse for a practice. It was a glorified walkthrough, and these were legit practices where the intensity, the energy, it was there. The Giants brought it. Yeah, they looked a little sloppy day one. They picked it up day two, but the intensity was there. The energy was there, and Joe Judge is awesome.
He's the Messiah. I've been calling him the Messiah since after I heard his introductory press conference, and that was what I was going to say. Being able to see, and literally, we're right there. So we got to hear so much of what was going on.
Yeah.
And the fact that Rob Sale is just ripping into his players hustle.
Get to the line.
Get to the line. F-bomb after F-bomb. And they're going at it. The defensive backs coach,
Jerome Henderson.
He everybody was just so unbelievable and very intense, like you were saying. And it was very cool to see. The only two coaches that were not intense are the two coordinators, Jason Garrett and Patrick Graham.
Interesting.
They barely moved. Jason Garrett, literally, when it was 11-on-11, he would stand there, the whole time.
Garrett's vocal though. He's not intense because that's just not who he is. But I heard Garrett. So
I heard him once or twice, but I'm going to refrain my language. They must have some rapport because
him and Daniel Jones are extremely close.
They have to be,
and we've heard about that. But just seeing how it really does seem like they genuinely enjoy each other's company. So
I don't know why Daniel would like him with the route concepts and everything, and being a redhead and whatnot. Oh, how you doing?
Yeah.
But it does seem like a good rapport they have, which is good. And Joe Judge confines in Patrick Graham all the time. There was 3 instances when the Giants were on defense and Patrick Graham's on the sideline and Judge is obviously in the background or whatnot. He'll see something. He goes, Pat, come here. And you see them talking and waving arms. It was very, very a cool scene. So
shake and bake is a very real thing. I'm scrapping our players to watch segment, by the way. Let's talk about camp. How do you feel about the offense? Because right now they're literally missing all of their additions. They're missing Kenny Galladay, Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, Kyle Rudolph practiced the one day, and then you've replaced Kevin Zeitler with Kenny Wiggins. So obviously the personnel's not better. But do you feel worried okay, the scheme hasn't gotten much better either, because they're not really going to hide a ton in these practices because they're not playing the Patriots this year. There's really nothing for them. They're not going to go crazy, but they shouldn't be worried about hiding a ton of stuff. Bill Belichick's not going to sabotage the Giants. How do you feel about the offense after these 2 days?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because day one was very much situational stuff. It was third downs, it was 2-minute drill, and it was red zone. So day one, they did specific situations. We want to see players doing X, Y, Z. Okay, so it wasn't really just a full-on scrimmage. Day two, starters played every single snap. Mike Glennon did not take a single snap. So all the people that are oh, Daniel Jones wants, long neck. He does have a long neck. The memes are correct. All the people that are oh, Daniel Jones needs to take snaps. Who does he think he is? Blah, blah, blah. Every single snap that happened today, Thursday's practice in New England, Daniel Jones took. So what I was looking out for post day one was, what are Jason Garrett's route concepts? Because if they are going to just have more of a legit scrimmage and not do this 2-minute stuff, red zone stuff, third down stuff, what are we seeing schematically? Because we are hearing good things about Daniel Jones, then we hear bad things about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had a bad day one, so it's like, all right, is it Jones or is it Garrett? Is Garrett doing anything different? We're at a point, Bobby, and this is what I'm going to say to really everybody. We're at a point, at least in my opinion, I'm not a football savant, we're at a point where let's start to pick it up a little bit. Like, I'm sick and tired of kind of hearing, oh, the Giants are hiding this. The Giants are hiding that. They don't want to show this. They don't want to show that. We're at a point where, we're playing football in a couple weeks here. Let's not hide things. Let's actually practice what we're going to do. Practice how you play, right? I like to think that phrase is actually a legitimate phrase. And I'm sick and tired of hearing everybody giving excuses about everything that the Giants are doing, including mostly on the offensive side of the ball, that it's just like, oh, they're hiding this, they're not ready for this, they're getting ready for that. Okay. So much of what Jason Garrett did last year, it mirrored what I saw, was receivers catching the ball, and it just does not allow for yards after the catch. Every single time a receiver catches the ball, their back is to the end zone. And when your back is to the end zone, that involves you turning around, getting your momentum back, and going forward. And in the NFL, it's not like college, where the NFL, you catch a ball, you're going to have another body on top of you right away. So unless it's a vertical route down the field, there is no momentum in this Jason Garrett offense for our wide receivers. There really isn't. Dante Pettis had a really, really good play today. It was a 40, 50-yard, nice vertical throw, streak on the left sideline. It was the biggest play of the day. It was the biggest play of the final 2 days that the Giants had. And it was awesome. And it was on like a 3rd and long. And that's when the Giants offense really started to pick up on day 2 after a bad start. But everything else is just, nothing is allowing the Giants to get any momentum going in terms of their wide receivers when they catch the ball. Everything is going out of bounds to the sideline, or their backs are turned from the end zone. And that's not a training camp problem. That's a 2020 Giants problem. So I'm not saying that they're just bad in camp. We should be concerned about the Giants offense because they were bad last year, not just because they're bad in camp. But they're showing the same things, and Jason Garrett's play calling the same way. At least today, where it was a legit scrimmage,
Right.
We saw the same problems that we saw last year. Even though the offense did look better, I do want to contextualize that. But I'm still worried.
Yeah, so I agree with pretty much everything you just said. And if this offense was run 30 years ago, they may be the best offense in the NFL. Yeah. But no, it's
just Saquon.
It also is important to note too. I think they did this on purpose. Both teams did this on purpose. There was barely any running the ball the last 2 days.
No, all they did was throw it. Yeah. So the D-backs knew, the linebackers knew.
Mac Jones.
Yes, Mac Jones threw 40 passes yesterday. Cam Newton had a 20-play drive. He threw every single play. So in fairness, the defense definitely knew passes were coming and whatnot. But that's all well and good. However, it's not hard to decipher when you're watching right there what the routes are and what the combos are. Like, there's no imagination. There's nothing that's going on that you're like, okay, wow, that's good. I like that. Outside of the Barkley play, we like the angle. That's the Madden cheat code.
We'll talk about Barkley.
I know. I'm just saying. But there was nothing that really enlisted confidence in me going forward. And it's more of the same thing. I'm hopeful. I tried to talk you off the bridge before because, like Bobby said, there are no weapons. Maybe they do open it up when they have Kenny Golladay, a true, legit outside number 1 wide receiver that's going to go down the field and grab anything that's thrown his way. A Kadarius Toney, who's a nice gadget player that you could scheme things around. A Barkley, healthy. So I will see, but I will also agree with Justin that it was tough to watch. It was.
Well, here's the thing, is that if the defense has a bad day, like you mentioned, like Blake Martinez, like had some bad, like if the defense has a bad day, they've earned the right for you to not be worried. Like, they've been good in games. Like, Blake Martinez, you could say he had the worst day ever. He missed 20 tackles. I don't care, because I've seen him play game after game after game and be good. If James Bradbury gets burnt over the top 3 times in a row, I'm not worried at all. But the offense has to prove that they're better. Like, Jason, they dropped from the 19th ranked offense to the 31st ranked offense, and the biggest difference was the offensive play caller change. So Garrett, who has proven and to be stubborn to not change, has to prove to change. Now, will it be better with Kenny Galladay, Kyle Rudolph, Tony, and Saquon? Absolutely. There's no way they're the 31st ranked offense unless they have serious injuries. There's no way. But so they will be a better offense than last year. But I think this point of camp where they're not going to be hiding anything in practice. The preseason games, they will. They're not going to show a ton in the preseason games. But you also the Vikings aren't going to stop running outside zone in the preseason. A preseason, you do see a little bit of the type of offense you're going to be because like Justin said, you practice like you play. And you should be worried about this offense. And you talk about Matt Parrott struggling. Matt Parrott's a huge question mark. If you're not worried about Matt Parrott, you're not paying attention. So, yeah, I am. After hearing these couple of days going into the season, I am worried about the offense. Do I think it's going to be the 31st ranked offense? Absolutely not. But there's good players on this offense, and I have higher goals than this for this team. And just the offensive line not being good isn't the reason that I'm worried about the offense. It's Jason, whatever his middle name is, Garrett.
Yeah. Jason Bleeping Garrett. Let's give a Saquon.
I actually no, hold on real quick. I agree with I think the offensive line is going to be sneaky good. That's my take. I have
gonna be good run blockers.
Well, for sure, yeah. But just watching and seeing Andrew Thomas completely dominate both days, and then Will Hernandez look really good.
Will Hernandez looked good day one, and then
okay, all right, you're right. Subpar day two today.
Individuals,
yes.
Individual drills. Andrew Thomas and Will Hernandez absolutely dominated those. Andrew Thomas continued to do well. I think he allowed a sack going around the edge today, which guys are going to allow sacks.
Yes,
Patriots
correct.
have some good edge rushers.
Right.
But Will Hernandez looked a little bit more iffy in team drills, but still, Will Hernandez has been a guy that we've genuinely heard good things throughout the entire camp.
Right, absolutely. And that's 3/5 of the line that I'm going into the season feeling pretty damn good about.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that because I do think Pert, when you, like you were saying, he puts it all together, he's going to be okay. As a right tackle, he will be fine. And, the guard position, whatever. But 3/5 of the offensive line looking pretty damn good. I'll take it right now.
Yeah, it's crazy how Bobby's evaluation of Matt Parrott in the PPP was completely spot on because I actually saw it with my own eyes, kind of up close, where Matt Parrott, he absolutely does have the athleticism, particularly in the individual drills. I saw this, where those individual drills where you're one-on-one with guys, those are designed for defensive players to win. You're not exactly, you don't want, or you're not going to get your offensive lineman just winning those reps every single play, and it's going to be obvious. So, the fact that Matt Parrott was able to keep up with some of the speedier edge rushers that the Patriots have, and there was a few reps even with Kyle Van Noy, who isn't speedy, but he certainly has a pedigree in the NFL. The fact that he was able to wash some of those guys out was good, but also I'm watching it. It's like, dude, you're 320-some pounds. You're 300 pounds. Use your hands more aggressively and dump these dudes. These guys are bending the edge, and you're keeping up with them. You're keeping your hands on them, but put your body on them. Just finish your plays, finish your blocks. And, that was my critique of him in the PPP. But then Bobby's like, well, that's kind of just not the player that he is. But really, if Matt Parrott is going to take a step up, and if he is going to be this guy that can be a right tackle, he does need to finish some of these blocks, even in pass pro. I'm not even just talking about run, as a run blocker.
Yeah, Sports Manager Worldwide is the global leader in online sports business education. We teach people how to work on the business side of sports. All of our classes are taught by industry professionals. Your mentors have been in the game you want to work in and done the jobs you want to do. SMWW has had graduates work for all 32 NFL teams, including Patrick Hanscom, who's an area scout for the Giants. He's going to have 11 draft picks to look at through this year. SMWW can train you to be an agent, a scout, work in the front office, work in the film with digital video editing tool XOS Thunder used by all 32 teams. Learn from people like former Tampa Bay GM Mark Dominic, football analytics gurus Aaron Schatz, and Mike Tanner of Football Outsiders, football player development from former NFL coach Steve Fairchild. Learn the skills and knowledge you need to work in football and at all levels and turn your dream into reality. They may not be able to teach Nick Sirianni how to form a full sentence, or Ron Rivera to know when to go for two and when to kick for the extra point, or Mike McCarthy to not lie in a job interview about how he was overturned by analytics. But they can teach you to work in football. Apply free at smww.com and use the discount code GIANTS for $50 off the course of your choice. They offer courses in football, baseball, basketball, soccer, and more. If you have always dreamed of a job working in sports, Sports Management Worldwide can help you. From sports betting to esports, sports broadcasting. Maybe I could take a freaking course. They have the what you know and who you know to get you into the game you love. Let's get excited Are you guys excited seeing Saquon Barkley out there? Because I feel like watching him, and I know I'm repeating myself in the live stream a little bit, but I'm excited for Saquon Barkley seeing him out there today.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm sorry. Real quick, I'll go. Just watching him up front and close, he looked absolutely fine. I know they're bringing him along slowly and whatnot, and I understand it. But I was telling you, watching him run drills with, just the quarterbacks and the receivers and running backs,
Individuals.
Yeah. His speed is at a different level. It's really crazy, and he had a great play during 11-on-11. He did the Texas angle route, whatever it is, Bobby. You know it better than me. And he would have had daylight he could have ran 2 miles. So all in all, I think seeing him back out there was fantastic. And then actually getting to watch him, and maybe he had some limitations. He had none. He looked great.
Yeah.
He looked great.
Yeah, now Zack Rosenblatt provides a different perspective on the whole Saquon situation. So I'm gonna say I'll save that for that part of the interview.
I don't understand that.
I disagree with him too.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Anytime you look at him, we looked at him today, and he wasn't going balls to the wall.
No,
and he wasn't getting contact. He wasn't getting hit.
And even if that was his half speed, it's still unbelievably better than everybody else.
No, but every time we've seen a video, and every time we've even seen him just running off on the side, he's looked really, really good. When the beat reporters are allowed to take those videos at Quest Diagnostics and he's running off to the side, he looks really, really good. And of course, he'll tell you that he feels perfect too. But I also don't mind the Giants taking a somewhat conservative approach, because even though he does look good, and it's really great that we can see that with our eyes, it is more important to have Saquon Barkley week 17 or week 18 than it is to have him week 1. And that's been the premise and the theme of 2019 and 2020, obviously 2020. So, but yeah, that angle route, what makes me excited about that angle route, Bobby, we've talked all offseason about using Saquon as a receiver, and not just using Saquon as a dump-off option, but using him as a receiver where you're giving him legit routes to run. And if you're talking about this boring-ass Jason Garrett offense where, there's just going to be nobody over the middle of the field because every defense knows that they're going to be running routes to the sideline or, just curl routes, whatever. There's going to be nothing going over the middle of the field with any momentum. Then guess what? Put Saquon Barkley running routes over the middle of the field. So then he has one-on-one versus linebackers and safeties. He has to break one tackle, and then boom, similar to like Detroit at 2019 where he got tripped up in a play. And I think that was like that same route, that same play, that same concept. So that's the idea, and that's the vision for Saquon Barkley and how he can help this offense and how he can help the passing game as well.
Yeah, and it's at this point in the offseason, you repeat a lot of talking points. But one I've brought up a lot is what running back had the best receiving game for the Giants? Saquon Barkley week 1 versus Pittsburgh. And that is where, even if Jason Garrett runs the same offense, there should be a lot higher expectations because of a guy like Saquon Barkley. Like, he's going to make plays out of nothing. And we do think the offensive line, as bad as they could be as a pass blocking, like I think we all feel confident as run blockers. Like, I think
absolutely.
they've been, as long as Shane Lemieux is playing, I think I'm confident they've improved as a run blocking unit. So yeah, I mean, it's good to see him out there. I'm hoping he plays week 1. They do play Thursday night, so maybe you limit him a little week 1 and play him Thursday, but I think he'll be back, man, and I'm excited to see him. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we kick it to the interview? I mean,
a couple injury notes too. Kyle Rudolph was back. I mean, that was like the big thing that we were going to watch out for this week, along with Saquon. But # Kyle Rudolph watch. He was back. He was the first one out on the football field on Wednesday.
He was, and he was the last one to leave the field today.
That's right.
Thursday. So
him and Jones were running routes after practice today.
He took his pads off, kept his helmet on. He was running routes with Daniel Jones. It was pretty awesome to see. So
yeah. So he was out there for a few reps on Wednesday, did not take any team reps on Thursday, but he should be ready to go like for week 1. The fact that he was out there right away,
it's huge.
I mean, that's at least what I'm expecting. Why would he be out there in full pads getting reps the first day of practice? And then I can imagine they were doing some workload stuff and maybe keeping him out there. Evan Ingram didn't even take any team reps on Thursday either. So I don't know what they're doing necessarily there. I'm not going to react to it unless we get specific injury news about Evan Ingram, but I think they should both be ready to go for week 1. And I think that might be it in terms of injury front. And
yeah, I mean, the Galladay fight, it's
Galladay,
wait and see.
Galladay is moving.
He was doing some different movements. Yeah,
Galladay is moving a little bit more.
He's actually moving.
Yes.
Yeah,
instead of
everyone on the
stand-
beat has acknowledged that they're kind of just babying him, which again, I'd say that in a good way, not a bad way.
I completely agree. I'm glad that they are doing that because that hamstring and those two legs are very important to this team's success this year. So
Mhm.
you baby him all you want. That's a professional. He's going to know the playbook. Even if he doesn't know the playbook, Daniel Jones can say, okay, run a fly, run a post. Just do that. Go catch it.
Yeah.
That's fine. He's that good of a receiver. So baby his ass all you need to.
Yeah, and a lot of people are concerned that Daniel Jones and Kenny Galladay, they just haven't practiced together. But also at the same time, and those concerns are legit. But also at the same time, Daniel Jones has never thrown to a wide receiver as good as Kenny Galladay. So I think he will automatically benefit from that. That's at least the thinking and the goal.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm really not worried about that at all. I mean, look at Darius Slayton. He played basically 0 reps in camp. Like he played that one Cincinnati game, and then he was injured again, missed the first 2 weeks. So like they didn't have I don't think they had any more rapport than Galladay has. And you even go look at like when Matt Stafford got injured in Detroit, like David Blau and like Kenny Galladay was putting up big numbers with David Blau or whatever and Chase Daniel. So, yeah, I'm not worried about that. Just don't get re-injured. That's my much bigger issue.
And that's why I think we're all in agreement with babying him is fine, absolutely fine, because the guy is a terrific wide receiver. I hate to bring him up. Odell's rookie year, he had no rapport with Eli. All of a sudden, boom, best rookie year a wide receiver had.
Yeah,
so it's
miss camp, miss everything.
Miss camp, miss the first 4 games, and Galladay's not missing the first 4 games. We need to keep him healthy and on the field. So I am all for this babying, and the fact that he was doing a little bit more while it's just like stretching with the team and whatnot, I will take it, and I think he plays week 1 and he's good to go.
Yeah, Tony's the only one I worry about missing time, like this missing these practices. Like Kyle Rudolph is a pro. Kenny Galladay, like we just mentioned, and like I'm not worried about Saquon not practicing with the team. Saquon. Tony's really the only one where it's like he's missing very valuable reps.
One more final note, and then I promise we're done. Because we didn't talk about this in the interview. Nate Solder was back this week. And
well, we'll talk about that at the end. There's one thing I will bring that up so we don't just finish it after, so we can do the correct way.
All right, then I'm done.
All right. Snacks, thank you for joining the show. This is the last we're hearing from you for the entire show, so that's good. Thank you for going up to Foxborough and having a good time. Manscaped for sending us. So thank you, Snacks.
Oh, thank you, Bobby.
All right, here's Zack Rosenblatt of NJ.com.
Now let's welcome to the show Zack Rosenblatt from NJ.com. Zack, real quick question. Should I jump off a bridge after watching 2 days of practice live in Foxborough, Massachusetts, watching Jason Garrett's offensive scheme? I'll hang up and listen. Thank you, Zack.
I don't think there's anything I could say to Snacks to keep him from jumping off a bridge, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, convince him to do it. And
I will say I enjoyed Snacks observations in his notebook. They're pretty funny.
Oh, they were genius. He's gone now, but those
he's already on his way back to New Jersey. He left.
Correct.
Yeah, those are genius. But we do welcome on Zack Rosenblatt of NJ.com again. Zack, we're finishing. We finished off training camp last year with you, and we're finishing off our interview series for training camp again with Zack. So, good stuff. Your practice reports have been like what we've lived off without being able to be there. It's like every day read the Zack training camp reports. But here is the question I want to start off with. Adoree Jackson, sprains the ankle. It looks like he'll be all right and probably back for week 1, if nothing too serious. But that started a discussion about like the cornerback depth and what is going on with that. Because I mean, you said to me, Dan Duggan said to me, like I would be surprised if Josh Jackson made the roster, which doesn't make sense to me from the outside because Isaac Yiadom was looked at as their number 1 backup on the outside, and they trade him for this guy. Is it because of injury or what? Because I looked at him as a lock the day they traded for him.
Well, I don't know if the Giants viewed Yiadom as their number 1 backup on the outside. I think he was going to get cut anyway, so I think they viewed it as I think they knew that their depth wasn't good anyway, and they viewed this as a flyer on a guy. Like Yiadom, with Yiadom, the depth wasn't good. Without Yiadom, the depth isn't good. And it's something that like maybe we all should have kind of seen coming if you just look at it. I mean, they were going to rely on a rookie in the slot or Darnay, and Darnay just hasn't, really made a leap yet. in his second year. He's had a tough training camp, I think. And so like a lot of the concern stems from, I think the nickel cornerback spot I'm especially concerned about now. I think Julian Love got a bunch of reps today because Darnay had a couple penalties. And yeah, I mean, if Dory or James Bradbury goes down, they're kind of in trouble. And in terms of Jackson, like I've even heard that I don't even know if they necessarily view him exclusively as a cornerback anyway. I think they think he can play safety too. So that might add to the discussion of what you're saying. But I mean, the fact that, again, I get what you're saying because, they needed guys and Yadam played last year and at times he was okay, I guess. But Jackson has played in one practice and he barely played in that one practice and he's still hurt. I saw him running off to the side today. I don't know when he's going to be back. If he doesn't play on Sunday, the only opportunity he has now is going to be in like those practices coming up, which are going to be like game week practices, like regular season practices. So there's not going to be much of an opportunity. Like they need reps for the guys that are actually playing in those practices. So.
Well, going back to Yadam, I know he's gone, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. But at the time, it was like, okay, player for player, same position, same age, same contract. Okay, they think Josh Jackson's better. Well, I don't understand why Yadam was on the cut list because. I mean, I don't expect Rodarius to be better than him. And you look at that first preseason game, Yadam was the better corner compared to Rodarius. And it's like, who's behind him? At Sam Beal? Julian Love hasn't practiced it out. Like you mentioned,
I would say Madre Harper and Rodarius are the backups on the outside right now. I would say.
That's
true. I get why you're concerned. I mean, it's not ideal. And I think Rodarius has been good in practice, and he hasn't really been able to show that in games yet. I mean, you don't want to ideally a 6th-round cornerback is not going to have to start any games for you, but
especially as a rookie too,
Yeah, and that's a tough position for any rookie to play in. So yeah, I mean, I think that's why they went out and paid Adoree so much money. I think that their safety is part of the appeal of their safety group is a few of those guys can play different spots. I think they would rather play Julian Love at like safety, but I started to get the sense that if Darnay keeps playing like he has, then I wouldn't be surprised if Julian is like the primary nickel corner to start out. I mean, I think they really were banking on Aaron Robinson too. They couldn't have predicted a core muscle injury. I think they really like that kid. I mean, they wouldn't have traded up for him if they didn't.
Right.
But now I don't know when he's going to. I would imagine he starts on the PUP list and misses at least 6 weeks, probably.
Yeah.
He wasn't even in New England with them. So, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's something I probably should have even thought about more. Their depth at corner. Because like on paper it looked pretty good coming in, but if you just like really break it down, like there are some concerns. I mean, but that kind of goes for any team that like invests heavily in a specific position. Like the odds are the guys behind them aren't that good.
And I know everybody talks about Josh Jackson, but Keon Crossan was the one who was actually traded for a draft pick. And he's mainly a special teams guy, but Gettleman talked about how I guess he provides line of scrimmage value, which I guess that means he can play the run. And Sam Beal was getting a lot of run today at outside corner during practice during the last that Pats practice too. So is that a matter of
today?
Yeah, he did. He allowed a touchdown, but I mean he had some nice pass deflections and he was pretty active. Him and Rodarius were pretty good. So is that a matter of them wanting to get Sam Beal some run, or does that mean something for Madre Harper? So how about that? That's a question. As you mentioned Madre Harper, so maybe how would you kind of label the cornerback depth chart as of between what you see the Giants doing and who they have running out there, and then also with your eyes too, and how would you kind of rank them?
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say is corner is a position in particular that, a lot of guys are going to get cut. Like I would imagine that's a position they will claim somebody or, bring in somebody interesting on the practice squad, things like that. But yeah, I would say, like I mentioned, I think Rodarius, it seems like he's the top backup on the outside right now. He goes in whenever anybody goes down. I think Madre's up there. Trying to think who they even have back there anymore because everybody's hurt. Sam Beal, I think they're more just getting reps. They're like trying to give him a chance to prove he deserves to stay at. I think he's more likely for the practice squad probably. And the thing is about the practice squad, these guys can still play on the, they still are doing the same rules as last year. So they can activate 2 guys a week or whatever. So that's valuable too. But yeah, I mean, Keon Crossan, I don't even know if I've really seen him play defense almost at all. So yeah, I mean, that part's interesting. And I mean, again, Julian Love's been getting a lot of reps at the corner and they're going to have to get creative. And I imagine they'll try and go get somebody in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean they did it with Yadam last year, and that worked out, fine for him, relatively speaking. So, but hopefully, those front two guys are here for 16 games. That's certainly what Giants fans are hoping for right now. So, Zach, you were at practice last week in Cleveland, and then you were also at practice this week in New England with myself and Snacks. We didn't actually hang out, which is a shame, but we were at the practice and we saw, but kind of compare what you saw last week against Cleveland, where it was a struggle bus of a first day, and then they had a nice recovery the second day. And I would kind of say it was a similar premise this week, where it was a struggle the first day and then somewhat of a nice recovery the second day. So kind of maybe compare, contrast. Was this week better than last week, in terms of how do you feel about the team and how you feel like they performed throughout the 2 days of joint practices each week?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know if for example, their defense struggled pretty badly yesterday. I think they weren't amazing in that first Browns practice, and I think somebody mentioned this. I don't know if they're going in necessarily scheming up for the Browns or scheming up for the Patriots in practice. They're more thinking about the future and learning their own guys, and then maybe thinking about the Broncos. So then they go out and have those bad first practices. Then I think they really buckle down, and you see them start, really paying more attention or blah, blah, blah. So their second practices have definitely been better. Their defense was way better today. Mac Jones struggled against their defense. I still think there's a lot of concerns about the offense, but a lot of it, again, it just comes down none of these guys are on the field. So it's part of it's hard to evaluate, but on the other hand, the odds are a few of these guys aren't going to be ready for the start of the season anyway. So this is who they're going to be rolling with. And there's a lot of concerns there. I mean, at receiver, they like CJ Board for special teams. I don't know if he should be playing on offense. And, Caden Smith was the number one tight end today. He should be more of a blocker. And the offensive line is a disaster right now. And so I don't come out of these joint practices feeling great about the offense. I think the defense can be pretty good. You trust Patrick Graham and all that. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, we probably learned a lot. I think Daniel Jones has been solid considering what's been thrown at him. Yet they've been pretty conservative. I know in the past, you guys have asked me, are they going to get more creative with Jason Garrett this year? I don't know if I saw anything to indicate that yet. But I mean, you were at practice too. I mean, they were doing all those short passes. I mean, he had a deep ball to Dante Pettis today. That was pretty good.
Yeah. And that was the biggest play that really out of both teams, that was the biggest play out of both days, which was nice to see. But really, Snacks asked it, I guess as a joke to maybe start the show, but he was serious about it. But so I'll get a little bit more nerdy with it without, asking you too much about what exactly is Jason Garrett doing? So what I saw these past 2 days with Garrett is just the same as last year. Nothing really new, and when a wide receiver catches the ball, his back is to the end zone. It's nothing really, unless you're running a streak down the field, it's nothing really where a guy's momentum is carrying him. Or if you're using a tight end vertically too, where you saw a lot of, whoever took Rice and John's number was catching balls vertically down the field this week, and he was actually looking pretty decent. So has that been just a common trend throughout the entire camp, where when wide receivers are catching a football, they're stopping, they don't have momentum moving, and that prevents yards after the catch, which was a problem last year? So have you been seeing the same things this camp for Jason Garrett schematic wise? You don't want to pull too much out of it, but still, I like to think that you practice how you play.
Yeah, I get the idea that they're not going to show all their tricks in practices like this and stuff, but I haven't seen. It's been a pretty boring, bland offense as it has been. I mean, even just to what you're talking, even just Sterling Shepard, I thought was having a great camp, and then we go to these joint practices, and all the plays they're throwing to him are those short, out routes. And, I get he's a slot receiver, and that's his best position, but yeah, I don't know. They can make as many excuses as they want for Garrett, and Galladay's not out there. Tony, who in theory they get creative with, is not out there. Saquon, but he's the offensive coordinator in his second year. Most of these guys were here last year, if you look at it across the board. I haven't seen much difference in how they're using Evan Ingram necessarily. I know that was one of the big criticism last year. If you have that guy using the right way, it'll be interesting how that looks with Kyle Rudolph when he's fully in and stuff. But right. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm not any more confident in the offense than I was when I started training camp. And if anything, I might even be more concerned than when it started.
What about Saquon? Do you think he's coming back week one? I know his first day was back today.
I had originally thought he was going to be back week one, but with how kind of slow they're taking it, and he still hasn't taken any hits, and I think there's technically only going to be 3 more practices that he can even take hits in, just in terms of how they're going to play it out, where they have hitting. I'm less confident that he plays in week 1. If he does, it would be very limited. So I wouldn't plan on him making a very big impact in week 1, to be honest. And it's a little surprising, but they've been really taking it slow. It was hard to even judge how he looked today because he only got I think 8 reps total, and 4 and 7 on 7, 4 and 11 on 11, and 3 of the 7 reps he didn't even get targeted or anything. And he looked okay on one of the catches, and maybe he could have burst upfield. But yeah, it's just so hard to tell right now. And the fact that he still hasn't been touched, and even Joe Judge, who has been avoiding giving specifics about what he needs to see. He was in order to put him out there, he needs to be hit because the first hit can't come in a game. So
right.
That's why I'm more concerned about his ability to play in week 1 than I was if you had asked me a week or 2 ago.
So I may have stood up for 10 seconds of that answer. Do you think he's playing week 1 or no?
I'm skeptical.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So
Fine.
no, yes or no. You're giving us a Joe Judge answer on this one.
So unprofessional, this guy.
I'm giving us a Joe Judgian answer on that one. So let's move over to back to the defense. Ifedi Odenigbo, he's someone you talked with in the offseason, had a really good story on him. He seems to be the guy who's might have had the worst camp from what his expectations were. Do you think he makes it in that edge room? And if he doesn't, who do you think is the one replacing him?
Yeah, that's a tough one. He had a couple. I think he had his 2 best practices of camp actually today and yesterday. He was getting some pressures, so that's positive. They are playing him in a new position, and they gave him $1 million guaranteed. I don't know if Judge necessarily cares about that part of it. And they haven't really played him much as a down defensive lineman, which he's been most of his career. So he's really just played outside linebacker, and he hasn't. The last couple of days he has, but he hadn't gotten many first team reps even when guys were hurt. Which, you start to, your guard goes up a little bit. If I were doing a 53 today, I might have him on it. But if he weren't going to make it, I think a guy like Trent Harris is probably going to wind up making the team.
Yeah.
I think a guy like Nico is probably pushing Ifedi. It ultimately comes down to the numbers because it depends on how many outside linebackers they keep, how many defensive linemen they keep. You have to remember they have very limited cap space right now. I think they're at $2 million if you look at over the cap. So some of these guys, I wonder if the salary cap factors in. A guy like BJ Hill, they would save $2 million if they cut him. I'm not sure how much they would save with Ifedi. But yeah, he's definitely a bubble guy, which if you had asked me before training camp, I wouldn't have thought that,
Yeah, it's been interesting. And I think one thing that has going against him is he's had 2 coverage reps last year, where a guy like Trent Harris has some more ability in that. And interesting to see how that rolls. What are your expectations for the team? How has things changed after basically a full training camp at this point now? We came in, there was expectations. Do you think watching them has brought them down? Or kind of stayed the same? I know injuries to the main guys probably hurts it a little bit.
And the injuries almost make me feel more or less confident in how they're going to be able to pull. They haven't gotten Daniel Jones hasn't gotten any reps with Kenny Golladay, not any legit ones since the start of camp, and that feels like ages ago. Kadarius Toney, I'd be surprised if he played a role for a while. That's a first round pick. That's your expensive wide receiver, and then your running back is still not going to be 100% when the season starts. So and then you look at, especially because I'm concerned with the offense, and you look at the defenses they have coming. The Broncos, I think they have a pretty good defense. Washington has a talented defense. Atlanta, in theory, they should be able to beat Atlanta fine, but the Saints have a good defense. These are all defenses that right now, is anybody confident that the Giants can go against those teams and score a bunch of points? I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I'm not confident in that right now.
Snacks, after listening to that interview by Zack Rosenblatt, I want you to give your thoughts.
There's a reason me and Zach are friends.
There's also a reason why you were sitting over there this entire interview, because I think you wouldn't be able to handle that.
No,
that was a lot.
I started tearing up. It's just
I heard a few breaths.
I'm gonna be 30 in a few years, and it's just wasting away my time. Year and a half,
6 months,
whatever. But it's just very demoralizing, and he makes every good point. There's nothing you could really rebut, and it's very upsetting, and it's just I'm sick to my stomach. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, the offense was ranked 31st last year. They have to prove that they're not that. And when you don't have Kenny Galladay, Saquon Barkley, I mean, those were, and Kyle Rudolph out there. Like, those were the 4 additions to the offense.
For your listeners, I'm laughing at Snacks, not at you, by the way, because Snacks has his head in his hands right now.
No. Is it because I'm a clown-looking guy, or is it because I'm just so?
You're just so sad.
You are genuinely sad right now.
I'm so sad.
We were in such a good mood before this, like Zach. So Zach, we may all go out tonight, you know.
Oh, we better.
Even though we didn't see each other this week, we may all go out tonight, and we were happy. You know, we
got Wendy's.
We got Wendy's. We were thinking about putting the Janky game on tonight, watching some Outer Banks, and now Zach kind of just plummeted all of our moods.
I almost don't want to see him.
Zach, these guys travel and they've ate nothing but chain food. Wendy's, like Buffalo Wild Wings, and they're like talking about Domino's. All they eat is chain food when they travel.
Wait, real quick, Bobby. It's funny you say that, and then I will hop off so you guys can finish. But last night I look up like restaurants. The first thing that comes up is Buffalo Wild Wings, and I think it was like 2 years ago.
Turn to me.
We met up. I go, Justin, Buffalo Wild Wings, dude. He's like, well, I mean, we're in Massachusetts. Maybe we should go try something else. And then I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And then after like 2 minutes, Justin goes, you know what? I want Buffalo Wild Wings. So what did we do?
We went to Buffalo.
We went to Buffalo Wild Wings. Incredible.
Buffalo Wild Wings, nothing wrong with that.
It's absolutely delicious. And I don't trust these Massachusetts people. I don't trust these Massachusetts people either. Once you start talking to them and you have a little accent, they start spitting in your food. Trust me. They know you're Yankee and Giants fans. They'll start spitting.
Thank you, Snakes.
Hey, your general manager is from the area. You should respect it.
Yeah, I mean, we know the service people at Buffalo Wild Wings just have higher morals than everyone else, according to Snacks.
That's right.
So this interview has been kind of a downer because we've talked about the offense, and the offense hasn't proven that they're not the 31st offense, and especially without Saquon. Like their additions this offseason for the offense are Saquon, Kyle Rudolph, Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, and basically none of them have played.
Even John Ross has barely played.
Yeah, and then like Kevin Zeitler, you move him off the roster. Kenny Wiggins has been in, which the waiver wire, like I would be blown away if next Wednesday at 4:00 we don't see that they signed some type of interior offensive lineman. But I don't know. So how do we finish this interview? Usually we usually finish these off on a little higher note. Tell us something good. Like how's it? Do you feel good about Patrick Graham year 2 now that he's skinny?
now that he's skinny, I don't know. I mean, the defense I still think is going to be pretty good. I mean, that's fine. Like, it's hard to focus. Like all the big names it's like hard to talk positively about them right now. I think I would say Daniel Jones has been solid. Maybe he hasn't taken the leap that you want to see, but I think he's been, good enough to win with in theory. Like if he plays like this when his players are with him, I think you can feel good about that. I think guys like Nick Gates, I don't think he's made no mistakes in camp.
Beautiful. Andrew Thomas. Tell us about Andrew Thomas. I've heard he's been balling out.
He's been. I think they're really going to go with a 3-tackle rotation again because they do give him a decent amount of rest. I've noticed. Nate Solder got a bunch of reps at left tackle today.
He did.
He's been solid. I think he's. I mean, they need him to be one of their staples, as you guys know, because there's so many questions on that line. And I would say the pass rush has surprised me quite a bit. I mean, it hasn't been as good in New England as it was in Cleveland, but Lorenzo Carter looks good. You need to see that in regular season because you always hear about that in training camp with him. I think O'Shane pass rush wise has looked good. I don't know if he's capable of stopping the run and stuff like that, but Jerome Peppers has looked great as a pass rusher. Actually, I think they're going to blitz him a lot this year. I'm trying to think. Just Carter Coughlin. I know you guys have been big on him. I'm a big fan of his game. I think I'm very intrigued at how Patrick Graham's going to use him this year.
Yeah.
Although I will say Reggie Ragland's been getting more first-team reps than him, which I'm surprised about.
Really? See, I would kind of expect that, and then Carter Coughlin's brought in for 30%.
I mean, I guess that makes sense because Ragland's more of a traditional inside linebacker type. But I'm so intrigued by Carter Coughlin's ability to rush the passer from the inside, and if he can, he's smart enough that if he can develop in coverage, he's going to be a player for them. And I will say, this year's draft is hard to get excited about right now, just because I think technically the entire class is injured in some way right now because Rodarius Williams and Gary Brightwell both left practice. Aziz has been in and out of practice. Ellerson Smith and Aaron Robinson, I'm not sure they exist. Kadarius Toney. is doing his thing. So that like that entire draft class Raymond Johnson, I should say, he's looked pretty good.
Boom.
Undrafted rookie.
My guy.
I think he's looked pretty good. I think he's legit pushing BJ Hill for a spot potentially, like if they want to save money.
Right.
To go back, Carter Coughlin, like, the point I was getting to is last year's draft, I think, is looking pretty good for the most part right now. If you look at Tate Browder, who's hurt right now too, Chandler Mew is hurt right now too. Xavier McKinney has had a good couple of days, although he keeps dropping picks and kind of gets beat on like 50-50 balls. But yeah, I think he's been solid. Darnay's struggling, so I don't know. I'm trying to be positive here, guys.
Zach,
No, you finished this off on a good note. Now I'm happy. Andrew Thomas is the rock. Daniel Jones is better, and then as soon as the weapons come in, everything's fixed. According to Zack
you're
Rosenblatt, I
trying
like
to
it.
be positive. I can like see you're trying to be positive, and then with each positive note, you're laughing, and you're like, well, here's a negative thing, and I'm trying not to be.
He's hurt actually. Okay. Well, half the roster is injured right now, so
Yeah. Well, they got a couple weeks to get healthy. Looking forward to that. And Zach, we're looking forward to talking to you again. Appreciate it. Where can people find you and your work?
you can find me on Twitter at Zack Blatt, ZACK. And my work is at nj.com/Giants. I just had a feature about Kyle Rudolph that came out today.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Now that the world's coming back and opening back up, so many new thrills are on the horizon, and whether you've been in a relationship for years, I did cause the breakup of Snacks' last relationship, or you're just getting started or excited to get back out there and meet new people, when the moment comes, you want to be ready and you want to be Roman ready. Go to GetRoman.com/JohnBoy now to talk to a U.S. licensed healthcare provider. The whole process, it's straightforward, it's convenient, it's discreet. With Roman, you don't even have to leave your home, and you can talk to a licensed medical professional. They'll work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, it ships you free with 2-day shipping. That's kind of big. That's kind of important. Take care of your ED without leaving your home. Complete the online visit today to contact with that U.S. licensed healthcare professional and take care of it, fellas. Go to GetRoman.com/JohnBoy, and if you're prescribed, get 50% off your first month of ED. Make sure you're ready to have the confidence and control this summer and even this fall. Fall's going to be a big time. Giants are going to win some games. Get ready. Roman ready. Thank you, Roman.
Thank you, Roman. All right, so we were going to do our preview, but we want to talk about camp. Here's what I'll just say. I'll do my one player to preview. Nate Solder.
Sure.
Nate Solder, like, God. You know, I've said all offseason, if Nate Solder's starting, that means Matt Parrott's a disaster. But, you know, we're coming along. Like, I'm excited to see what Nate Solder looks like. Like, the last time we saw him, Brandon Graham made him look silly week 17, 2019. So nothing even to do with Matt Parrott. I want to see what Nate Solder looks like. He's lost weight. He's battling a shoulder, some type of shoulder injury, I guess, too. So, the injury excuses continue for him. Nate Solder is my guy to watch in this final preseason game. And obviously Daniel Jones and all that good stuff. And we watch for everybody. We'll recap it all. We'll be back on Monday with a very thorough recap. I wish they were doing the game a little early in the day, but it is what it is. Justin, any last thoughts before we kick it off for the weekend?
Very quickly about Nate Solder, he actually did have 2 good days of practice. During individual drills, he looked really good, really held up his own, and he was in team drills. He was at left tackle. He was taking some snaps away from Andrew Thomas. They've been doing that with Andrew Thomas all camp. So Zack Rosenblatt, I think he even mentioned that they may do some sort of 3-tackle rotation thing again. That wouldn't surprise me, even though I don't know if it's something I agree with. But if Nate Solder, if he can be a guy that looks good, then hey, look good, brother. We're rooting for you. Root for the guys in blue, as always.
All right, we appreciate you guys. We will see you on Monday with our game recap. Enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Week 0 of college football, so enjoy some college football. I'm gonna watch one college football game, and I will tweet it out, and you guys give me players to watch for the draft. How about that? We appreciate you guys. We will see you on Monday. And until then, let's go Big Blue.